What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another No Place to Be video. Following the success of Alex's 10,000 mile review of the Triumph T120 Bonneville, what is today's video? You guessed it, it's the Triumph Speed Twin, my pride and joy. We've done 10,000 miles on this bike now, and in today's video, we're gonna roll it all out for you guys. What are my thoughts? Pros, cons, any issues with the bike, servicing, things like what would I recommend in terms of changing the tires, what's my overall experience with the bike, would I change anything? We're in a beautiful Peak District. I'm overlooking Lady Bower Reservoir. We're gonna have a great ride. We're gonna roll it all out on a nice voiceover, and we're gonna get some good close-ups of the bike, just so you know what you're getting into when you part with your hard-earned money. So let's talk about specs. The 2019 Triumph Speed Twin blends retro style with modern performance. Powered by a 1200cc parallel twin engine, it delivers approximately 96 horsepower and 112 Nm of torque at just under 5,000 RPM. With a 6-speed gearbox, it offers a smooth power delivery with a top speed of around 130 miles an hour. The bike features a lightweight aluminium frame, non-adjustable suspension, and dual disc-mounted Brembo brakes for excellent stopping power. Weighing in at around 196 kilos dry, it's both agile and responsive, comes with a variety of ride modes, traction control, and a retro-inspired set of clocks. With a sleek, classic design and modern features, the Speed Twin offers both style and performance in one very impressive package. Personally, I still do love the looks of the 2019 model over the recent Speed Twins, now that upside-down forks and digital display clocks have been introduced. The older retro style wins hands down for me. So then, why did I actually buy a Triumph Speed Twin, and am I still happy with my decision 10,000 miles later? Well, in a nutshell, I've always loved the look of Triumphs, and especially their range of retro motorbikes. When reviewing all the bikes on offer, it became quite clear early on that the Speed Twin and the T120 were the two bikes that I had in consideration. Both bikes looked and sounded great, but myself as a more spirited rider certainly favoured the Speed Twin, having a higher power engine, a lighter body, and much more improved handling and manoeuvrability. Now, the Speed Twin that I purchased was second-hand, but it only had 1,200 miles on the clock. Thankfully, the previous owner also fitted aftermarket Vance & Hines exhausts, which looked significantly better than the original stock ones included by Triumph. But what else have I added to the bike, and can I offer any recommendations to any of you interested in this bike, or if you already have the bike yourselves? Well, the first thing that I did was install heated grips from Oxford, which I have to say are absolutely a welcome addition on cold days. From what I've heard, the Oxford heated grips heat far hotter than the Triumph installed ones, and at a fraction of the price. So if you do get yourself down to your local bike shop, purchase a pair of Oxford heated grips. It's definitely something I would recommend. Additionally, I've also fitted an X-pipe, or what's commonly referred to as a decat, which is essentially the removal of the original catalytic converter that the bike comes with. This, combined with a retuned ECU, has added about 4 or 5 horsepower to the bike, and it has made it incredibly fast. Actually refrain from using sports mode unless I really want to go for a spirited ride these days, simply because it is so fast, and reaching speeds well above the national speed limit happens in a matter of seconds. So you really do have to watch out if you're gonna put it in sports mode or look at fitting an X-pipe, because the bike really is stupid fast, even though it looks like a retro. So beware, I have warned you all. Next up, I've also replaced the original Pirelli Diablo Rosso 3s with the more durable Michelin Road 6s. Now, the reason for replacing is just that, and it's simply to get more miles out of my tyre each time they're fitted to the bike. The Michelin Road 6s are quoted to get up to 6,000 miles or more, while in my experience the Diablo Rossos have only lasted for around 3,000 to 4,000 miles. So I was simply after more tyre per pound spent, and in my experience they have experienced significantly less wear. They still feel excellent, good control, good manoeuvrability and handling, and it's a swap that I would recommend if you're looking to get better durability from your tyres. And also, they perform much better in the wet, which is much more confidence inspiring when you live in the UK. So one of the main reasons I love this bike so much is simply its versatility. You really can use it for everything from commuting to having fun rides on a weekend and even touring. Yes, that's right, I still think you can tour on a Triumph Speed Twin and you don't need a GS or an Africa Twin to have a good time with your friends exploring Europe or the world for a few weeks at a time. A few of the mods that I've made to make this a reality is installing pannier rails and a luggage rack, as you can see on this shot here from Alex. And simply put, this bike becomes a touring machine. And once more, it's a very fun bike to ride on a tour, because once you finally do get to your destination, instead of having a big, upright, boring bike, you've got an aggressive, retro, sporty bike to have fun riding on the fantastic roads at your disposal. Ultimately, you will have to encounter motorways at some point, especially on a tour. The Speed Twin is no different to any other large naked bike in the regard that you will experience a significant amount of wind. However, if you tuck in, accept it for what it is, and just get through them as fast as you can, you'll soon be on the roads that the bike was designed for, and in my opinion, it's no blocker as to why you couldn't tour on the bike in the first place. Now, as some of the subscribers to the channel may already know, the Triumph Speed Twin was actually my first motorbike. Not just my first big bike, but my first ever motorbike, having passed my direct access course with just over a few weeks worth of training. Now, I still stand by the decision I made in the earlier video that I think it was a good first bike for me, and that's for me personally, and I think that is the key here. It really does depend on your personal circumstances, how comfortable you feel on a bike, balancing a bike, how strong are you, what is your risk tolerance, what is your financial position, how sensible are you, and can you ride within your ability and hold back and not ultimately thrash the bike to its full potential from the get-go. I think it's actually a really good bike in the sense that it's somewhat light, agile, and does have 3 rider modes. So initially, if you want to put it in rain mode or road mode, I would strongly recommend this before you put it in the famous sports mode and thrash the bike within an inch of its life, taking advantage of all the twisty roads that it was designed for. So ultimately then, having ridden the bike for 10,000 miles, am I still happy with my decision? Did I wish I went with a Triumph T120? Should I have got a sports bike? Do I actually wish I now had a touring bike, now that I realise a lot of the joy we get from riding and from the YouTube channel is making these adventurous touring videos? And the answer to that is absolutely not. It was the perfect bike for me, and it remains the perfect bike for me to this day. It simply is a jack of all trades that meets all the requirements that I personally want from a bike right now. It's not a huge touring bike that's no fun to take out on a weekend, but it's also not too restricted as a sports bike that you can't use it for touring. It really does fit the option of doing everything that I possibly want on a motorbike. That being said, over the winter period when I've not been on it, I have been thinking, ooh, maybe I would benefit from a sports bike. I do like the look of the older Daytonas, the sound of a triple, they do really entice me. However, having now gone into springtime and got back on the bike again, I simply don't need a sports bike right now. This bike is plenty fast enough, and every time I swing my leg over it, it puts a huge smile on my face. It really is a perfect bike for me. If you love the look of retro bikes, but you want a bike with a bit more punch, aggressive personality, and a fun riding style, I would 100% recommend you check out this bike, and I'd also recommend that you look at the older 2019 models over the newer versions, simply because of the more retro design and the fact that you can pick one up for an absolute steal right now. Secondhand, these Speed Twins can be picked up for as little as £6,000 compared to brand new prices of well over £10,000. And if you get a bike with not too many miles on, say 5,000 or 6,000, you really would be getting an awful lot of bike for your money, and it would be a very good investment in my opinion. Now, I would like to say that owning a motorbike is all sunshine and rainbows. However, with all things, there is the potential for failures and breakdowns and mechanical issues to occur. Thankfully, I haven't had any on my Triumph Speed Twin of significant note until the last couple of weeks, and what's happened to my Triumph is very rare and quite unusual. When I put on the indicator, instead of receiving a bulb and a dash light that flashes as a standard indicator, it has recently just been a fixed light that doesn't flash. So this is quite dangerous. Motorists don't know which direction I plan to turn, or certainly can't tell quite as easily as a flashing light. So I've had to take this to Triumph, who have carried out a diagnostic, and the feedback is that the OEM which controls the indicator panel behind the clocks is faulty, and that the only way to fix this is to actually replace the clocks themselves. Now, at the time of filming this video, Triumph have managed to plug in a separate pair of clocks, which seems to have tricked the electrical issue into working again, and I'm going to pick up my Triumph this week, and fingers crossed that has resolved it. However, if it continues to persist, I will have to purchase a brand new set of clocks, which has been quoted by Triumph at over £900, plus the £150 diagnostic fee, so we're looking at well over £1,000 repair for what should be a pretty trivial and simple fix for an indicator. So fingers crossed for me, and stay tuned for the Road to Europe series to see if I do have to replace the clocks entirely or if the bike is ready to go. Other than that, the bike has performed perfectly well and I've never had any issues to note. But just be aware, this is a premium bike and things do have the potential to go wrong, which can result in a premium cost alongside it. Right, so that concludes today's 10,000 mile review of the Triumph Speed Twin. Hope you've enjoyed it. I must say, buying the Triumph Speed Twin has been the best decision of my life. No regrets. Every time I get on the bike, it puts a huge smile on my face, and I don't have any thoughts about changing the bike anytime soon. It was the perfect bike for me. Well, let me know what you think of the video. Is the Triumph Speed Twin a bike you're interested in? Hopefully this video has helped. Leave a comment, subscribe, ring the bell. See you in the next one.